Remember how exciting it was to sign up for a new streaming service? It felt like we were all collecting them, right? Like a badge of honor to have them all. But lately, something's felt off. Fewer new shows, more ads popping up. What's the deal with Hollywood these days? We're going to dig into all of that today, and thankfully we've got this Sherwood News article. It's got all the good stuff in it.
That's a classic Hollywood story when you
Yeah.
think about it, right? This whole boom and bust cycle they can't seem to escape.
Yeah.
What's really interesting is how Wall Street got in on the action. For a while there, they treated the entire entertainment industry like it was some kind of casino.
Everyone was looking for the next Netflix.
Exactly.
I remember all those articles about peak TV. It felt like it was everywhere you looked.
Yeah.
And speaking of peak TV, this Sherwood News article actually had this crazy stat. Get this. Last year, 600 scripted TV series aired in the U.S.
Wow.
That's insane. That's literally double what we were watching just 10 years ago.
No wonder everyone's hitting the brakes.
Yeah, no kidding.
Honestly, it sounds like a textbook case of too much of a good thing. The article even points out how a lot of these streaming platforms, despite, bragging about those subscriber numbers,
Yeah.
they can't stop talking about them. But underneath all that, they're struggling, not making the profits they expected.
I guess giving us all this content for basically free wasn't the best long-term plan.
Turns out you can't just run a business on good vibes and endless scrolling.
And that, unfortunately, is where things get a little less fun. Especially if you're like me and love your scripted shows. Give me all the dramas, all the comedies, all of it.
Yeah.
This Sherwood News article talks about how writers are really feeling the pressure right now. One writer even said it was like every network executive was desperate to buy anything they could get their hands on.
Oh, wow.
And now it's like the well has dried up.
The thing is, and this is a point the article really digs into, it's not that there's no money to be made in Hollywood.
Huh?
It's that priorities are changing. Think about Netflix, right? They used to be totally against getting into live sports. Now, they just dropped something like $450 million to get the rights to the U.S. Open tennis tournament.
Seriously.
That's a huge change and a crazy amount of money.
Hold on, so let me get this straight. All that money they're using to get those sports fans, it's coming out of the budget they used to use to fund, new seasons of my favorite shows.
That's what it looks like, yeah. The article definitely suggests that these massive deals they're making for live sports are being paid for, at least in part, by taking money away from scripted content.
Wow. So does that mean it's a zero-sum game? Like, the more money they spend on sports, the less they have for my shows. The ones with, the actual stories.
It's not that simple, but yeah, it's definitely part of the equation. And this Sherwood News article, they point out another thing that's shaking things up in Hollywood. All these mergers. You've got Disney buying up Fox, then Discovery with Warner Bros. It's kind of wild.
Right. It feels like every week another two companies are combining.
And that's the thing. Less competition, it usually means less choice for everyone else. Think about it. It happens in every industry.
Okay, so how does all that translate to me actually seeing fewer shows? I mean, I get the whole less competition thing, but what does that have to do with, whether or not a network decides to pick up a show about, time-traveling historians?
Well, think of it this way. Every show needs someone to buy it, right?
Oh.
And with fewer companies out there, you've got fewer people willing to take a chance. This Sherwood News article, it had this quote from a TV executive, and they were saying how it used to be that networks would spend months looking for a specific type of show. Like they'd put the word out that they were looking for a gritty legal drama or whatever, and writers would pitch them ideas.
Right.
But now, it's all different. Now, those same executives, they might change their minds overnight. Like one day, they're all about superheroes, and the next day, they're chasing after the next big reality show craze. Imagine trying to get a show made in that environment.
This sounds impossible.
It's got to be tough for writers, for sure.
No kidding. So you've got shrinking budgets, fewer networks taking chances, and now the whole landscape is changing faster than ever. This Sherwood News piece really paints a bleak picture. What are we even supposed to do? Is there any hope for good TV?
Well, the article does mention a few possibilities. One scenario. We go back to cable bundles. Remember those?
Don't even remind me. That sounds awful.
Yeah, I'm with you there. But the thing is, they're cheap. And for companies that are struggling, that might be hard to resist.
Okay, that makes sense, I guess. Are there any other options out there?
Well, one is already happening. That ad-supported thing we talked about.
Oh, right.
Yeah, those cheaper subscription tiers, they're probably here to stay.
I guess it's a trade-off, right? I mean, nobody likes watching ads, but I'd rather have that than no shows at all.
And here's something the article mentioned that I thought was really interesting.
Huh.
What if all this leads to a resurgence of those longer running formats? Like traditional sitcoms and those procedural shows.
You mean like shows that have like 20-something episodes per season?
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, when I think of shows I can binge, I usually think of those limited series, like the ones that only have 6 episodes.
I get it. But those longer formats, they offer something that's become really valuable in Hollywood these days. Stability.
Right.
Like if you're a writer or a director or anyone working on those shows, you've got a much better chance of having a job for a few years, right?
That's true.
It's more reliable than pouring tons of money into a show that might only last one season.
So wait, are you saying that we're about to trade in all those big, ambitious shows for laugh tracks and predictable crime dramas? I mean, I get that job security is important and all, but not if it means we lose all the good stuff, the stuff that actually got me excited about streaming in the first place.
That's the big question, isn't it? And that's exactly what this Sherwood News article is making everyone think about.
Hmm.
Going back to those more familial formats, will it kill creativity?
Yeah.
Or could it actually maybe free things up a bit?
Speed things up.
Think about it this way. When you're not under pressure to deliver this crazy, mind-blowing ending after just 6 episodes, you can breathe a little, right? You have more space to really let those characters grow and change. More room to try different things with the story. Some of the best moments on TV, they came from shows that had the time to figure things out, to build a world over time.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about it like that.
Right.
It's like those classic sitcoms, the ones that everyone loved, or even those medical dramas that kept you on the edge of your seat every week. They weren't afraid to go there. They could make you laugh one minute and have you in tears the next.
Absolutely. This whole thing has me wondering if maybe, just maybe, this return to longer seasons to shows that feel a little more familiar maybe is what we need. Like a kind of TV comfort food, Something cozy and familiar, but with enough surprises to keep things interesting.
Okay, I like where you're going with this. So where does that leave us, the viewers? The ones who are stuck trying to figure out what to watch in this crazy world of streaming.
Well, if this Sherwood News piece is right, it sounds like we might need to adjust our expectations a little. We're probably going to be seeing a lot more ads. Maybe even those bundles will make a comeback. But there's also a chance that this whole shift could be a good thing.
How so?
Well, this whole idea of going back to longer seasons, back to shows that feel a little more familiar, it could bring some much-needed stability to the industry.
That's true. And who knows, maybe we'll be surprised. Maybe the next big thing on TV won't be some super dark, super serious, limited series. Maybe it'll be a sitcom with characters we love or a medical drama that keeps us guessing every week. Maybe the future of entertainment isn't about chasing after the next big thing, but remembering how much power a good story has, no matter what package it comes in. What do you think? Will this return to classic TV bring back that creative spark? Or will we all end up digging out our old DVD box sets? Head over to our website and let us know. And that's it for today's deep dive. Thanks for listening.